So Shaki Foster has been calling out Shakur Stevenson to try and get a fight with him at either 130 or 135. But, you know, Shaki Foster's a world champion in his own right, a very accomplished boxer, a very good boxer, but ultimately he's nowhere near the same sort of commercial value as a name like Shakur Stevenson, or even the potential fights that Shakur Stevenson could be looking at. Of course, Shakur Stevenson's an undefeated four-weight world champion at the moment, looking to move up to potentially 147 and fight Ryan Garcia is what they're looking at, right? Now, if you're Ryan Garcia, if you're Shakur Stevenson, there is no reason to fight Oshaki Foster at all. If the fight makes zero sense for Shakur Stevenson, now of course, from Oshaki Foster's point of view, you're thinking, well, this is a huge payday for him. A huge payday for Oshaki Foster. Wouldn't it be a huge payday for Shakur Stevenson, right? What incentive does Shakur Stevenson have to fight Oshaki Foster? Do you know what I mean? Let's keep it a stack. Let's keep it 100, bro. Because what's a bigger fight for Shakur Stevenson? A Devin Haney fight, a Ryan Garcia fight, a Conor Benn fight, a Oshaki Foster fight. Do you know what I mean? Those three fights, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn, those are huge, three huge names that would deliver huge paydays for Shakur Stevenson. Oshaki Foster is not that guy. Shakur Foster is a very good boxer and a dominant performance over Stephen Fulton Jr., but there are levels to this game. And even though I thought Stephen Fulton I still do think he is a great boxer, and I think he could still go back down to featherweight and accomplish a lot there. His performance against Oshaki Foster, though, left a lot to be desired. Now, it wasn't the best version of Stephen Fulton that we saw in there. I think we can all agree with that. Stephen Fulton looked like, maybe the preparation wasn't all there. In the ring, he felt very flat-footed, very slow. Felt like he lost the beat a bit. And Oshaki Foster, was consistently just able to be first. Oshaki Foster won that fight by being first. And he was quick, and he was in, and he was out, and he boxed very well. And didn't take a ton of damage, and moved about really well. Boxed brilliantly against Stephen Fulton Jr. and didn't let Stephen Fulton get comfortable. Didn't give him time to sort of, set his feet, get comfortable, get familiar with his rhythm. No, from the get-go, Oshaki Foster was onto him and he was winning rounds against him. Oshaki Foster's not going to have anywhere near the same success against Shakur Stevenson if that fight ever gets made. It probably won't. Do you know what I mean? It probably won't, but Oshaki Foster's calling for it because from Oshaki Foster's point of view, that's one of the biggest fights Oshaki Foster can get. But from Shakur Stevenson's point of view, it's one of the smaller fights that he could get. Do you know what I mean? Because if that fight takes place, I imagine it will have to take place at 135 because I don't see Shakur at this point in his career going down to 130. I think those days are past him. Even though Shakur Stevenson isn't necessarily old, but in fact, him being young is probably part of the reason why he wouldn't go down to 130 because he's young, still growing into his body, and this guy looks like he could fight at 147, right? He was against Teofimo at 140. Now, he didn't look physically outmanned by Teofimo at 140, but granted, Teofimo himself is a former lightweight, so we've not seen him in there with the real big bodies at 140, the Pitbull Cruzes, the Superman Matias, the Gary Antoine Russells. Even though these are guys that I think Shakur Stevenson would beat, we don't know yet. Do you know what I mean? We've not seen those fights. Oshaki Foster, like I said, is a world champion, a very good boxer. Is coming off a great performance as well, and no doubt likely wants to capitalise off the momentum that he's currently got. Oshaki Foster's coming off the biggest win of his career against Stephen Fulton Jr. He's got momentum. He wants to capitalise on that momentum, and while he's, basically strike while the white iron is hot. I get that. I get that more than most guys. I get that boxing's a business, and you're all going to have short careers. While you're here, you need to be trying to get the biggest paydays you can get. That's all Oshaki Foster's trying to do with this fight. It won't happen, though. Because, again, Shakur Stevenson's the A side. He's the deciding factor, and he's got no incentive to make this fight happen. There's far more lucrative paydays out there, and honestly, easier fights maybe is a bit harsh. Easier fights are maybe a bit harsh because I think Oshaki Foster, from a technical point of view, is better than a Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia, of course, is bigger and faster as well. So, poses his own problems. But Oshaki Foster's smaller, doesn't have tons of power like that either. It would be a relatively easy nut for Shakur, to be fair. Not to say that Oshaki Foster's an easy problem to solve. I don't think he is. But you look at the physicality point of view, Shakur's going to be a lot bigger than him. Oshaki's not going to have the power to really, really earn the respect of Shakur Stevenson. Not that he'll even land on him in the first place. Stylistically, it could be a bit of a boring fight, I'll be honest, because Shakur is defense first, and even though Shaky Foster, he can fight on the front foot, and against Stephen Fulton, he was on the front foot. Even then, against Stephen Fulton, he was forcing Fulton to chase him a bit, to be fair, and was circling out, using ring generalship very well against Stephen Fulton Jr., right? But yeah, I don't see this fight happening. It's very unlikely, in my opinion. Even though I understand the logic behind O'Shaquie Foster calling out Shakur Stevenson, very unlikely that this fight happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this fight could even take place? And if it did, who do you think would win? And what weight class do you think it would be at as well? Let me know in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.